It is finished. See, those were his last words. As he hung on a cross for 6 hours, he didn't die from blood loss because his hemorrhaging lung was killing him faster. And I bet you didn't learn that from the pastor because they sugarcoat the word or try to preach the sermon faster. And I could spit a fast verse and tell you about my holy dad's hurt as he watched his only son get torn to shreds while his creation made a glad smirk. But would that work? Oh, I'm sorry. I hope that didn't hurt. But if you listen to the last verse, then you would know that we are quickly headed for disaster. So let me paint a picture for you. My dad is a pastor. Let's say he had to watch me, his oldest son, suffocate to death for 6 hours while all of his other kids sat back and laughed. After you realized that you sat by and watched your brother slowly die, as hours passed, would you then have the audacity to ignore your dad because he's calling for you to be holy, set apart, to stand up so you can listen to a sermon, and at the altar call you can choose to put your hand up? But what good does that do you if you don't also choose to man up? Yes, it's a choice because God gave us free will. But we're more worried about what so-and-so said and about that same-sex marriage bill. Meanwhile, at a high school here in Houston called Santa Fe, a crook goes in with an Uzi and sprays, and a whole nation prays. But what is prayer without action but words said in vain? Evidently, it's dozens of innocent children slain, because I bet you that man didn't just wake up one day and decide to shoot up a high school for some sick game. And I've racked my brain for an answer. And if sinners are the disease, then we hypocrites must be cancer, because when we get to heaven, we'll probably ask Moses, what was it like to see the Spirit of God fall, a Red Sea split, a dead king lift right beside you? And he'll look back at us and say, well, I was going to ask what it was like to have that same Spirit live inside you. Hold on, hold on. Let me say that again. We'll get to heaven. We'll probably ask Moses what it was like to see the Spirit of God fall, a Red Sea split, a dead king lift right beside you. But then he'll look back at us and say, well, I was going to ask what it was like to have that same Spirit, that same power living right inside you. See, we take that for granted, don't we? For things that will never please us. Let me tell you the story of the God-man. His name is Jesus. He walked the Via del Rosa with the cross on his back, broken and bruised, looking into the faces of his creation, completely heartbroken because they were using the very voices he created to betray him, but still he kept going. And after 6 hours of hanging on to his life, he took our sins and went to hell to tell Satan about his new wife. He walked right past the demons and he stole the keys from Satan. Well, it's not stealing if it was yours in the first place. So he retrieved the keys because after all, he made them. 21,600 seconds is how long he endured for you. That's 6 hours, 360 minutes. By the end of the words I just spoke, I hope your faith hasn't diminished, because only chapter 1 is done. We still have the Great Commission. When Jesus spoke his last words, he meant that his job was done because his chapter's been written. So now it's our time to stand up, go forth, and preach the gospel, because our chapter, it isn't finished. See, the fact of the matter is, revival is imminent, but it's not going to start till a remnant of intimate Christian men and women can break free from their comfortable tenements. Stop being timid and realize that through Christ we've been made limitless. Houston, we have a promise. Here I am. Send me.